welcome to another Excel tutorial topic. So today we will learn about nested if statements and how to apply it in a real business world scenario. So first of all, let's learn what nested if is all about. So nested if, according to Google, in Excel allows you to test multiple conditions within a single formula, providing different outcomes based on the logic applied. So you can nest multiple if functions by using one if function in the first and replacing the value if false argument with another if function. So, of course, this creates a chain of conditions where the result of one if statement determines whether the next if statement is required or not. Users can create a simple one line if condition, but they will start having errors when they try to create multiple if condition and results. The most common reason is that users look at the formula directly as a formula, you know, like a computer generated formula. The technique I use to master if condition is to read it in a human language. Let's use the sample if statement below. I put it here like how it will reflect in Excel. Like if parenthesis logical test, the value if true and value if false. This might be jargon to many, but if I want to read this in a human language, I'll put it this way. If you meet my condition, give me this value, otherwise show this. It's easier to read and it's easier to create that way. One of the questions that may come into mind is nested if really similar to if-else statement? Well, both of them contain more than one logical statement and results. However, if-else only find values that are true. So it has to be that all of your criteria are true. Otherwise, if there is a false in there, it will not give you any result. That is the power of nested if, because at the end of it, it can give you a result for multiple true values and still give you a return if any of them cannot find any matches on the initial if statements or any of the preceding logical tests. In real business word scenario, I only use nested if. I can't really remember the time that I use if as a statement in any of my works. If it's just a simple one, I just use two if conditions. If it's just, if it's a complicated one, then I can use multiple if conditions. But never, I think I never used if s conditions. Aside from count ifs or average ifs or sum ifs, I only use if conditions and nest it. So, since our topic is more on the applicability to the business scenarios, the question that may come into our mind is what are the sample, business scenarios where nested if can be applicable? So the number one is if you are a reporting analyst or a data analyst and you were tasked to create a scorecard table. Sometimes if you are not a data analyst or if you're just a simple operations guy, you can use it to convert from processes to numbers and anything. For data analysis that requires multiple conditions, not only with scorecards, and of course, if you need to calculate things in Excel, that has to apply with some rules based on the process that you're working with. So without further ado, we'll jump in to our Excel and we'll get started. So in this scenario, we will be getting the ratings of the scores based on the scorecard matrix table. So I have prepared two tables, one with the scores of each metric and a field here where we need to put the ratings. And I've also created a table here that contains all the metrics and the ratings here based on a particular set or range of the scores of these metrics. So, say for example, we'll do one example here. The John Doe's survey score is 95. So basically, if we get the rating of this, it has to be in between 97 and 94.01. This means that the rating of 95 should be 4. So we need to create a nested if conditions in order to get this running. So if we are just going to create a simple if condition, the way we have to do this is, again, let's read it as a human or create it as a human, not as a computer formula. So if I needed to know if my survey score is greater than or equal to 97, or let's put it this way, if my survey score is greater than or equal to 97.01, then give me 5. Otherwise, give me 0. Let's put 0 and then let's close it. So that is a simple if statement. Again, read it as a human in order for you to easily create it. Don't read it as a computer because you're not really a computer. So let's repeat how we did it. Let's delete this. And let's just, create a simple one before we create the nested ones. If, again, just start with if my survey score is greater than or equal to, it's up to you if you want to put it just greater than, but this way it's much better if you put an equal to. So let's repeat. If my survey score is greater than or equal to 97.01, then give me 5. Just click on the cell range, the cell reference. Give me 5. However, if it is not, then give me 0. That's it. And then just close it with a parentheses, and it should give you the result. Now, you can't really, um, you know, do it one by one in each of these. So it has to be that you will create one formula in here or compose the formula in one in the first part, and it should cover each of the scores until the last one. So the way to do that is to create a nested if. So let's start. Again, read it as a human or create it as a human. Talk to it as a human. If, let's start, it always starts with if. If my score is greater than or equal to 97.01, then give me 5. Otherwise, if, so again, you'll have to replace the second condition or the second result, the false result, into another if condition. That's how you do it. So let's repeat it. If my survey score is greater than or equal to 97.01, then give me 5. Otherwise, if my score, so I'm just using left arrow by the way because this, let me do it another way. Let's put it here. If my survey score is greater than or equal to 97.01, then give me 5. Notice that I'm putting, commas in between. So, otherwise, so we're now in the otherwise part. If my score is greater than or equal to 94.01, then give me 4. If both of these, if I'm not higher than 97.01 and I'm not also higher than 94.01, then check if I am higher. If my score, if higher or greater than or equal to 92.1, if it is, then give me 3. Otherwise, check again if my number or my score is greater than or equal to 91.01, then give me 2. If still not, then just give me 1. And I'll tell you why it's the last. So you don't notice I did not put any parentheses. I just pressed enter, and Excel has created all the parentheses that I need to close all the if statements. So you will see here that 95 is in between 94.01 and 97. So it gave the result of 4. So let's read it one more time. Okay, let's do it here instead. So um, here in 92. So 92, it's 0, 1 here. So 92 is rating 2. Okay. So let's do it. Let's do it here. If my score is greater than or equal to 97.01, then give me 5. If not, check if it is higher or equal to, greater than or equal to 94.01. If yes, give me 4. If not again, then check if it is greater than or equal to. Check my score if it is greater than or equal to 92.01. If it is, then give me 3. If it's still not, check again if my score is higher than or equal to 91.01. If it is, then give me 2. If not, then just give me 1. Okay? Then just click enter and then just say yes to this correction because Excel will automatically um, correct it for you. So that way you will see that it gave 2 as a rating for 92.00 instead of 92.01 because it reads from the highest to lowest. Okay, because the score here is higher the better, right? So when I say higher the better, you can see here that if it's 100, it's 5, and if it's the lower number like 91 until 0 or 0 until 91 are all ones. So that is how you can, create a nested if easily by talking to it. Of course, it goes without saying that we should also know how to lock the formula, right? Because we can't keep on redoing all of the formula in each of these cells. So imagine if you need to do 1,000, a scorecard for 1,000 people, then it's gonna take you a while if you need to do it per cell or for each of these, and then another here, and so forth and so on. So in order for you to lock this, it's just an extra part of this tutorial. Then let's lock. Let's look at this. So your main reference, your dynamic reference. When we say dynamic reference, is the reference or the cell that has to move. If you have to move it, is C6, right? And the static references or the references that should not move, like these ones, are scattered from M6, L6, and stuff like that. So, in order to easily do this, just leave C6 as is, and then lock anything that is all the references that are outside C6 or that is not C6. So let's put it here. Just press F4 on all of them. Okay. Okay. All right. Just enter, and then you can double click here, and then it'll give you the corresponding results. Okay, so earlier I have shown you, you might have noticed why I just clicked on one without creating any conditions to it. Because if you might remember earlier, I said that the difference between if else and nested if is that in if else conditions or statements, it only gives you true. But in nested if, the last part of your formula will always be the question, the answer to the question, what if the first series of if conditions were not true, right? Because an if condition ends with false, and a nested if also ends with false. This one. So it only means that what if all of these preceding conditions were not met? Then just give me this as a result. It can be a reference like what I did here, or I can put it like, uh, a character or something like that. So if I do it that way, you know, it gives 91 because 91 is here, and I remove the one, then it gave me these dashes, right? But if I will, you know, make a reference here that um, if it's not greater than 9701, then it's not 5. It's not even 94.01, so it's not 4. It's not even 92.01, so it is not 3. It is not also 2 because it's lesser than 91.01. Then just give me 1, right? Okay. And then let's drag it, and then there you will see the right result. So let's do it one more time, and this time we'll do it in average time. Okay, then now you might see that in average time it is the lower the better. Okay, so it means that if they scored lower, they get a higher rating. So let's do the nested if function in a human language one more time. So let's do it here so it will not block our view. So if my average time is less than or equal to, notice that in survey I'm using higher than or equal to, but now we're using less than or equal to. If my average time is less than or equal to 500, then give me 5. If not, then check if my average time is less than or equal to 600. If it is, then give me 4. If not, then check if my average time is less than or equal to 615. If it is, then give me 3. If it's still not, check again if my average time is less than or equal to 650. If it is, then give me 2. If it's still not, then just give me 1 as an end result. If you want to do a lot of parentheses here, what Excel does is that you have to keep on creating close parentheses until all of these, this guide thing here, disappears. So, but I just usually, you can do it that way until it disappears. But for me, I just go ahead and click enter and then accept the correction. Usually the corrections are accurate. And then like what we did earlier, our dynamic range is E6. So we have to lock everything in our formula that is not E6 in order for us to be able to drag it across the board. Okay, let's do it here, then here. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm taking too long. My keyboard requires me to press Fn button before I can press F4. Okay, there. So is it correct? So if I'm 619, yeah, so 619 is in between 616 and 650. So yes, it's true. It is correct. And this is 4 because it's 600, and 600 is here inside the bracket of 4. And this is 3 because it's 612, and 612 is between 601 and 615. So there you go. That is how you can create a nested if easily without getting confused along the way. Just read it and create it as a human. Kind of like talk to it. So there we go. I hope you learned a lot on this lesson, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you and have a great day.